Oh, hello and welcome to Jo Richardson, who is Head of Marketing, Brands and Communication for Shepherd Neame. Jo, thank you so much in this, which must be one of the busiest weeks of your working life, for giving me the time to do this Hospitality Talks episode. For those people out there who possibly haven't met you on their travels, do you want to just explain who you are? And I'm sure they all know who Shepherd Neame are, but a little bit more detail would be great.
Hi Casey, thank you for the opportunity, and as you said, it's been quite a week for us all, but really appreciate the chance to have a chat with you now. So I'm Jo Richardson, as you mentioned. I'm Head of Marketing, Brands and Communication at Shepherd Neame. My background is drinks and hospitality, so I've been in the industry for 15 years, working with various international drinks companies such as Bacardi and Pernod Ricard, and I moved to Shepherd Neame 3 years ago to head up marketing. So I'm responsible for marketing across the 3 divisions of the business. So across our pub estate of over 320 sites, our visitor centre based in Faversham, and also our international beer business as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Let's talk about marketing then, being that you are the guru of such things. What has changed during the pandemic? Because obviously, the marketing is different depending on what kind of business you're in anyway. But when you take a business like yours that has got pubs, it has got brands, and then you stick it in the middle of a global crisis, what has changed for you?
Well, I think having a clear marketing strategy is all about amplifying your purpose, your positioning, and the unique value that you bring to your consumers across the different parts of your business. But I guess, this is even more critical in a crisis. So I saw a recent CMO survey that Marketing Week did, which said that 62% of marketing professionals say that marketing has become even more important during this pandemic. And, why is that? Well, it's because of the speed at which consumer behaviour has changed, and how quickly, we as marketeers need to understand what consumers are thinking and doing, and adapting our strategies accordingly. Definitely for our strategy, something that we wrote down on paper maybe a year ago may no longer be relevant, because those touch points that consumers are interacting with our brands may not even still be there.
Absolutely. And I mean, it goes without saying that digital has become, well, in some times, especially during actual sort of full lockdown, it was literally the only type of marketing that you could put out there at the time. So how have you adapted to that? I mean, what do you do? Do you shift budgets around, or did you already have enough? How does that work? Speaking of not just budgets, but just your focus, really.
Well, I think absolutely it's become a lead focus. Clearly in hospitality, we're in the business of bringing people together, not keeping people apart. So, in the old world, many of our kind of communications with consumers would have been in outlets or face-to-face at various events, supported by online. But really that's kind of been turned on its head, as you said, during these times. I mean, from a personal perspective, in the past couple of months, I've attended a friend's wedding on Zoom. Mm-hmm. I've attended my niece's birthday celebration on a video WhatsApp call, and I've taken part in an online pub quiz. And it's been great to have digital, I suppose, for all of us to be able to feel more connected. But I guess the issue for us in hospitality is that all of those situations would have been situations that would have taken place in your local hospitality venue, with drinks very much being at the heart of those celebrations. So the impact on the on-trade occasions is significant. But from a digital perspective, I guess what it's enabled us to do is to get closer to our consumers. Mm-hmm. So for us, social media has absolutely been at the forefront of our communications. It's been really important that we've shared a consistent, reassuring message throughout. And our business, has got over 240 tenants who were continuing to work during lockdown, whether providing takeaway or pivoting their business to support their local community. And so for us, kind of in a central marketing function, it was kind of, how do you cascade the same information to multiple audiences, but still come across with that authentic local voice? Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely key for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, I guess that, I think people sometimes forget that tenants are entrepreneurs and they are running their own businesses, and that actually the pub company's primary role, other than being a landlord, is actually to support them in order for them to run those businesses better. So when you can't have BDMs going around to sites when they are probably, well, almost certainly trading way under where they need to be. How does marketing and comms and brand, you know, your role, how does that come into supporting them, and what kind of things did Shepherd Neame do in order to support those tenants?
Well, I think that they're all really valid points. One of the things that was absolutely critical for us was our licensee newsletter, which typically we would have sent out probably once every 3 or 4 weeks in the old world, but we actually moved to probably every 4 or 5 days actually at certain points during lockdown, which was providing guidance not just from a brand perspective, but also how to deal with various operational elements, how to update their Facebook and their websites with information on new offers that they might be putting forward, how to kind of talk to us directly in the event of any challenges. So I think that kind of regular communication with the tenants is absolutely critical. And what we've seen is actually the tenants themselves have really embraced social media. They've come to us for guidance. We've run a couple of tenant webinars, upskilling on social media, whether it's through kind of Facebook advertising, how to use Google My Business, TripAdvisor, how to make the most of kind of championing your local to your local community online. So we've pulled in a number of experts kind of from my team and from other partners that we work with to help provide those online guidance webinars throughout the crisis as well. And it's also meant that, you know, we've been able to have that closer communication with tenants through social media. So we've been able to interact with their pages, share content on the Shepherd Neame channels, and also kind of amplify to our Shepherd Neame audience the breadth of tenants that we've got and offers that we have through that part of the estate, which I think has been really fantastic to showcase that to the overall Shepherd Neame audience as well.
I think it's interesting how you say about, you know, you were helping the tenants to sort of, you know, market themselves to local communities and to almost reassure consumers that it's safe to come back. You know, there has been this roller coaster of consumer and customer sentiment and confidence, I should say, really. We actually did a research program. We did a sort of snap poll after the announcements this week, where we asked UK consumers whether they think that the curfew will actually impact on reducing the spread of COVID-19. 47% just said no, there's going to be no impact. But the worrying part of this research was we had 14% who said that they're going to visit pubs and restaurants less, just because of the announcement, never mind anything else. And then another 13% have said, actually, I'm going to start thinking twice. So we've just got to the point where we've got people's confidence. You know, only 5% of COVID-19 cases has actually come from hospitality, compared to sort of 45% in care homes and workplaces. I think about 25%. You know, so that's 27% of the UK population that are now worried about coming back again. So what on earth do you do as a pub company to support your tenants and also to help with your brands and just to communicate to the wider public? You know, what's the answer? Not that anyone's got it. So, sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, I think, as you said, it's been a roller coaster of consumer confidence, and the pace at which this situation has evolved has been extreme, as we mentioned earlier. One of the critical things is making sure that everyone has access to the information of what consumers are looking for each time there's been a new change. So, you know, if we go back to July, 1 in 5 consumers were happy to come back into the on-trade, 3 in 5 were kind of waiting to see, got into Eat Out to Help Out, a lot more came out, you know, 2 in 5 people said that was their first trip out into the on-trade after lockdown. And as you mentioned, more recently, the consumer confidence taken a battering again. And, you know, what's been really critical throughout is to make sure that all of our tenants and people in our pub teams are aware of people's changing attitudes, because that's obviously really important to evolve your tone, what you're communicating. We developed an extensive communications campaign on reassurance and safety messaging around, we need you to stay safe for us to stay open. So we developed a load of assets and Facebook content, a bespoke website, and gave all of those assets to tenants for them to be able to use in their businesses as well. But clearly, as consumers have felt more confident, then we've wanted them to showcase more about the offer and the experience that they're promoting. But, you know, even this week, you know, a new set of rules have come out, we've developed new assets, and that's been very much our guidance, you know, please focus on this because consumers are looking for that extra reassurance. So I think, you know, it's kind of making sure that you are on that roller coaster with consumers and you've got a solution for tenants to be able to talk to their consumers about.
I think that is really interesting what you say there, is that it's not just the sort of chopping and changing of the rules and the regulations, but it's the speed in which it happens. And you know, the government comes up with an idea, and then it needs to be implemented 3 days later. And if you are an independent licensee, you know, or if you're a tenanted licensee and you've got one pub, or maybe you're not quite so experienced, maybe you only opened your pub sort of just for lockdown, you know, any of those people are going to really struggle to keep pace with that. And that's, I guess, where you guys come in, and where it's really positive to have that support. Jo, I just want to finish on, what does the future look like for marketing and comms in this particular industry and in this particular pandemic? Because we know it's constantly changing, but we also know that, and I know you, and I know that you like to be planned. So how can we as marketeers plan for what comes next?
I think that's the $1 million question, and I wish I had the definitive answer. I mean, I think one of the quotes that I've always really loved is, when you're fighting off alligators, it can be hard to remember that what you wanted to do was climb out of that swamp.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, you know, we're bombarded at the moment with changes and, you know, shock announcements, and we're all having to pivot and change both professionally and personally. But actually, it's also really important to take a step back. You know, what really matters to your business? What is the unique long-term value that you want to offer to those consumers? And how are the decisions that you're making now going to impact that longer-term strategy? So whilst absolutely all of our efforts are on kind of the here and now, I think it's important to kind of remember that there is a future out there that hopefully should look brighter at some point. And I think it's just really key to keep championing your unique positioning, the unique value that you offer to consumers. And from a Shepherd Neame perspective, I think, you know, we're an independent, local family business. And absolutely for us, it's all about encouraging consumers to stay local, buy local, and support their local licensee.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jo. Really, really appreciate your time. And I promise that when one is allowed to safely, I will be down in Faversham to maybe have a little walk through the visitor centre with you.
You're definitely our guest.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jo. Appreciate your time. Take care and good luck over the next few weeks.
Thanks, Katie. You too. Bye.